Barbados among the many countries globally affected by a technological glitch. The temporary outfall pipes at Worthing Beach repaired and re-anchored. The Queen Elizabeth Hospital focused on reducing wait times.
Broadcasting from our studios in the Pine St. Michael, this is CBC NewsNight, starting now.
Good evening, I'm Pearson Bowen. At least 2 banks in Barbados have been affected by the global disruption to several industries caused by a technological glitch. Across the globe, airlines, airports, banks, emergency services, and even governments were hit by what some are calling the biggest IT outage in history. The problem was caused by a software update issued by antivirus company CrowdStrike to Microsoft Windows operating systems. This was confirmed by Minister of Industry, Innovation, Science and Technology Marsha Cadell, who was stressing that it is not a cyber attack. She outlines the nature of the impact on the 2 banks.
What people may experience is that 2 banks so far have reported that their ABMs and other systems are affected. Now, to be clear, this is a platform issue. This is a question of how their systems are able to run. So it's just really whether and how soon they're able to get back up and running. They're working with the Central Bank of Barbados. They're also working with their own IT providers in the countries where the services are hosted. And they report that they should be able to get back up and running as soon as possible.
Minister Cadell further states that there has been no impact so far on some of the other key services in the country.
Queen Elizabeth Hospital and its medical systems and information systems have so far not been affected. We've also taken a report from Grantley Adams International Airport, and they're also reporting that up to this time, no flights have been affected. Their own systems are not affected. But what we remain to see is whether delays caused elsewhere in the world with other travel itineraries would then have knock-on effects for travel that will occur later today or over the course of the weekend.
Well, CBC News can now confirm that the automatic teller machines at the 2 affected banks are now back up and running. Well, as we said earlier, the disruption has been worldwide. Joining us now to give a fuller picture of the global scale of the fallout is cybersecurity expert Edward Millington. Mr. Millington, good evening to you.
Hi, good evening, Pearson.
Tell us a bit more about the global impact of this technological mishap.
Well, we have the 2 major suppliers, Microsoft and also the antivirus provider. And in this part of the market, especially for enterprises and critical infrastructures, you can definitely understand that if those solutions are deployed across many of the areas across the world, they're going to be affected, especially those running the particular feature of the device itself. So you would have seen, again, airports, hospitals, governments, any systems that use that combination of software will definitely have that particular issue.
Could you shed some light on how could a company like CrowdStrike, a major technological company, issue such a faulty update?
If you think about a risk that occurs very quickly, usually companies try to get updates as quick as much as possible, some of them as little as 5 minutes. So the ability to produce these files and retrain systems very quickly to mitigate a particular threat, something like this that can easily happen, a file can easily be corrupted, etc.
This update has impacted many services to many companies and many people globally. Is there anything you think that could have been done to reduce the widespread impact of this error?
It's a very difficult one. Usually some companies would, in a general patch, would apply a patch on a single or so or test machines just to make sure. In this particular case, as when it comes to security, you want that quick effect to be able to defeat, let's say, a particular adversary attacking the system. In this particular case, the best thing that any company can do, or any enterprise can do, is have the necessary data resilience strategies in place where you can actually do a one-point click and restore the system as quickly as possible. this is the only way you can defeat something like this here. If you have a large team and you can wait and test these updates slowly, then it's fine. But in many cases, that's not the case.
This problem seems to have impacted mostly larger suppliers of services. Have smaller businesses also been impacted by this update?
We haven't seen it, and the reason for this is CloudStrike, like Palo Alto, and so many other large companies. They serve companies looking at, let's say, like licenses 200 or 500, 1,000 and above. So you can definitely see large companies that carries a high value, very high level of risk that cannot afford to be done. We'll be using, again, companies like this here. So hence the reason why, if it was like a smaller company, like smaller antivirus that plays a major stake in small, medium, and large size business, this problem would have been catastrophic.
From your view, you sit as an expert on this, how long do you think it would take for those companies impacted to recover from this problem?
I think majority companies should be back up by now. It's just some of those companies that have to have ICT agents respond to them, which might need to go on site, look at each particular machine and recover them. So again, unlike Barbados, where you might have 100 or so machines, there are many places that have close to 1,000 or even more machines that would have been affected, agents on Windows machines. So critical systems would be obviously take priority first, and then everything right down to the user machine would then be recovered, depending on where that priority would be.
Edward Millington, cybersecurity expert, thank you so much for sharing your expertise with us this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
In other news now, the rupture to one of the temporary outfall pipes at Worthing Beach has been repaired. Additionally, it and another pipe that were ripped from their underwater attachments by Hurricane Beryl have also been re-anchored to the seabed. When the CBC crew visited the Christchurch Beach this morning, it was business as usual. Rachel Agard was there, and she filed this report.
Government officials are assuring the public that the ruptured outfall pipe at Worthing Beach has been repaired, re-anchored to the seabed, and the beach is safe for bathing. Word of this from Senior Minister in the Prime Minister's office with responsibility for coordinating infrastructural projects, Dr. William Duguid. He says the work, which became necessary due to Hurricane Beryl's impact, started on July 6th and was completed yesterday. The 8-inch pipe ruptured approximately 340 meters offshore, causing officials to move over to the 12-inch pipe temporarily.
In addition to that, we've also commissioned further strengthening of this temporary outfall. We'll have blocks called mantles, which will be put onto the 8-inch and the 12-inch as well, which will further anchor the temporary outfall so that we are not only in the position that we were in before, but even better. But things are now absolutely back to normal, and we will continue to monitor, continuing to strengthen the outfall and making it even better.
Further, the minister says they are still tallying the numbers and could not give a figure on the cost of the repairs just yet. And Mr. Duguid is dispelling rumors of effluent on the South Coast streets or the beach, as happened previously.
What happens simultaneously, and what people often mistake for sewage, is when we open the sluice gate. And when the sluice gate is open, sometimes you get tannins, which is the stuff from the trees and so on, and people think that is. But that was not that. That was tannins when we opened the sluice gate. Remember, at the same time, you had rain. So when you have rain, it means that the swamp gets filled up, and that's why the sluice gate is there, so you can open it. And often when you open it, you still have to clear away sand as well. So we open, clear away sand, and then people see this, they tend to see this in the water and come to that conclusion.
Additionally, owner and operator of the neighboring seafood shack, Sheena Lambert, says she expected the closure of the beach would have been longer, but was happy it only lasted 8 working days.
We provide a major service, so we had to open. I put some signs up saying we are open. I tried to use the social media a lot more. Like I said, I rented a light from Williams, and we tried to make the area still look as lively as we could, especially at night, because that's when most people come out. We did what we could do, but it wasn't a major loss, but it was still detrimental to the business,
Avid beachgoers can now return to the waters at Worthing Beach. Rachel Agard, CBC News.
The Scotiabank Junior Monarch Finals have been postponed. In a media release, the National Cultural Foundation says the Scotiabank Junior Monarch Finals, planned for tomorrow at the National Botanical Gardens Amphitheatre, will now be held on Thursday, the 25th at 7 p.m. at the Garfield Sobers Complex in Wildy. The recent showers over the past days have hampered the full technical setup and rehearsal needed ahead of the competition to ensure that the junior Calypsonians can showcase their talents in optimal conditions. Corporate communications specialist at the NCF, Tony Yard, spoke to the media about the change of plans.
This decision follows consultation with parents, sponsors, judges, and other key stakeholders. These young people have practiced hard, and while we cannot control the weather, we can assure you that the work put in by our mentors, coaches, the band, technical, and indeed our contestants will be worth the wait. Our main intention is that these youngsters get to perform in the best conditions possible. All tickets purchased remain valid. The NCF sincerely apologizes for any inconvenience caused.
At least one local prayer group is standing in support of Prime Minister Mia Amor-Motley and her call to Barbadians to observe 5 minutes of peace. Prime Minister Motley made that call recently in the midst of an upsurge of violent crime across the island and has urged Barbadians to pause for 5 minutes at high noon tomorrow. Founder of Prayer Warriors International, Pastor Courtney Selman, says it is imperative that people pay close attention to Psalm 119, verse 105, and 2 Chronicles 7, verse 14.
I wish to respectfully suggest that if all Barbadian people would adhere to these passages, God would heal our homes, our communities, and our country from all the gun violence and other maladies.
Pastor Selman says collectively the group's prayers have given comfort, healing and hope to countless individuals and has sparked a flame of faith. And he adds his group's efforts have not gone unnoticed by those in authority.
This call is a testament to the powerful impact and importance of prayer and a reminder of the strength that comes from coming together in one accord of faith and solidarity. As we continue this journey of prayer, service, and importantly, action, let us always remember the incredible power we hold within us when we join our hearts and minds in unity. Together, we can move mountains, heal wounds, and bring about positive change in our communities and indeed the world.
The Queen Elizabeth Hospital is focused on reducing the waiting times for patients who are accessing public health care services. Chief Operations Officer Dr. Christine Greenidge assured Barbadians that is an immediate goal. She was a guest on Morning Barbados.
That means with the new space that we recently moved into, just looking at the flow of services, you know, what happens when that person appears at the door? How long is that individual waiting to be seen, to be triaged, to get a diagnostic test? So at all those different service points, the goal is to improve and narrow down that waiting time so that we can actually offer our services much more quicker, number one, and the quicker that we're able to get that patient flow through the A&E, we can get that person either home and or admitted to one of our beds.
The QEH, meanwhile, is reporting a positive response to its Pulse radio show as it narrows the communication gap between the facility and Barbadians. Communications specialist Shane Seeley says the groundbreaking show is providing answers about health concerns to many.
Even when we get those tough questions, Tisha, during the program, myself, Dr. Greenidge, and some of the other hosts we have had, of course, you know, Dr. Corbin Hart has been a part of the show, and more recently, our Director of Medical Services, Mr. Anthony Harris. When we get those tough questions, we're able to answer, and I'm so happy that at the end of those answers, people say, well, I really thank you for having that facility there. Thank you for the information, and they're a bit more enlightened.
The notion that the elderly and people with disabilities will be cared for by their family and other loved ones can no longer be taken for granted. That's according to Minister of Elder Affairs and People Empowerment, Kirk Humphrey. He was speaking at the annual general meeting of the Barbados Labour Party's St. Michael's South Central branch. Minister Humphrey says given that reality, systems now need to be put in place to ensure such groups receive the care they deserve.
We have now one of the oldest populations in the Commonwealth. And the reason for that is, the Prime Minister spoke about it yesterday, is because many of us are not having children and we're living longer, so it's like no children, people living longer, we have to deal with it. But we have to put ourselves in a situation where we can finance it so that we can take care of the older people. I have a bill that we have now in draft to protect the elderly. I cannot wait for that to pass. We also have to pass the one to protect the persons with disabilities, because as Barbados is now at a crossroad, the things that you thought were natural, that older people will be taken care of by the young people, that persons with disabilities will be taken care of, that's not happening. It is not happening. And therefore, the society that we now must build out must fill those gaps.
Member of Parliament for the area, Marcia Cadell, says a lot of today's issues can be tackled through conversations. With reference to juvenile violence, she says you can't tell them not to be violent and then inflict violence upon them.
We cannot say to people, oh, talk it out. Conflict resolution, don't use violence, talk to each other. We can't say that to young people and still beat children when they don't hear. We can't say that to young people and still beat children when they don't hear. Which is it? Is violence the way or is it not the way? We have to take a position on that.
Barbadians continue to be recognized on the world stage. This comes as the government of Liberia conferred the prestigious Golden Image Award on Minister in the Ministry of Economic Affairs and Investment, Senator Chad Blackman, for his global leadership during their independence celebrations. The award is given to those who are committed to human rights, investment, and social justice in the world. Cultural Ambassador of Liberia, Julie Endy, congratulates Minister Blackman on this achievement.
His Excellency Joseph Yuma Boakai Sr., President of the Republic of Liberia, is truly honored and pleased to award Senator Chad Blackman with the Golden Image Awards 2024 for leadership in line with our 2024 independence celebrations. We are also proud for the unwavering commitment to Africa and its development and the strategic role he played as senior advisor to the first African Director General of the ILO with responsibility for Africa. Senator Blackman is forever etched in the hearts of every Liberian, both in Africa and its diaspora around the world.
Well, past recipients of this prestigious Golden Image Award include Nelson Mandela and Michelle Obama. Minister Blackman expressed gratitude to the government and people of Liberia for bestowing this award on him.
I am very humbled to have received the Global Image Award from Liberia's president in the advent of their 2024 independence celebrations. I give God thanks for his continued blessings on my life, and also use the occasion to express my heartfelt gratitude to the government and people of Liberia. Those who know me know of my deep passion for the continent, its development, and also the deepening of ties between Africa and the Caribbean. This, however, is an award, in my view, for Barbados and our people, and I'm eternally humbled to have been the first Barbadian and Caribbean citizen to have received it, and intend to use it as a constant reminder for the further advancement of relations between our two countries and regions.
Time now for Friday Night Sports with Mark Seal. Mark, good evening.
Very good evening. We're going to start with some good cricket news. Kavem Hodge slammed a maiden century to rally West Indies and defy England on the second day of the second test at Trent Bridge today. The 31-year-old, playing only in his fourth test, made 120, inclusive of 19 fours. Now, from a position of 84 for 3 at one stage, in response to England's first innings score of 416, Hodge added 175 for the fourth wicket, with the similarly impressive Alec Athanaze, who contributed 82. Now, still at the crease, at the end of play are Jason Holder on 23 and Joshua De Silva on 32, as the Windies are 351 for 5, still 65 runs behind on first innings. Earlier in the day, Captain Craig Brathwaite fell for 48, while off-spinner Shoaib Bashir so far has 2 for 100. Switching to basketball, founder of the Potter's House Christian Academy in Jacksonville, Florida, Vaughn McLaughlin, is willing to partner with government and the Barbados Amateur Basketball Association to help local players reach their dreams of playing in the NBA. McLaughlin, who was in Barbados recently, sat down with CBC Sports and outlined his intentions to help local officials to create pathways for Barbadian players through scholarships.
We're a private school, so we pretty much a small private school with a great basketball program, and so getting with the powers that be is essential. You know, I can't come in and steal players. You know, I'd have to really come in and work with those people that are here that can even recommend to me kids that might be successful overseas, you know, be successful someplace else. Not even if it's not the United States, we know people around the world. We know people that receive players from other countries that want to play high school basketball.
McLaughlin also gave advice to the local basketball association and the players.
We need to instill in these kids some sense of moral fortitude, that they need to understand discipline, they need to understand character. That's very important. You know, I've had coaches come to me, Bill Calipari, Bill Self, Rick Pitino, all these guys that are recruited from our school, and 9 times out of 10, a kid is either accepted or rejected based on their character, based on their attitudes.
In business tonight, Caribbean petroleum provider Sol is fueling this year's Crop Over Festival. Word of this came from retail formats and promotions manager at Sol Barbados Limited, Carol Roberts. She said it is a partnership with the National Cultural Foundation in which Sol stations will become hubs of activities during the season and will also see Sol and the NCF working closely to enhance the experience of festival goers. Ms. Roberts made the comment after presenting a check to Chief Executive Officer Carol Roberts. She said the partnership is also among Sol's ways of giving back to the community.
Sol's purpose as a company is powering what moves people, and there's nothing that moves people in Barbados like crop over celebrations, making the NCF-Sol partnership a perfect match.
The retail formats and promotions manager tells the business report partnership activities will touch all Sol stations across the island.
At Sol, we are committed to adding value for our customers and giving back to the communities in which we live and serve. We will be having various activities at some of our Sol locations across the island, where you will see the NCF and Sol combining forces to delight our customers.
A call has been made for more collaboration in the dental industry. It has come from the Vice President of the Barbados Dental Association and coordinator of the just concluded Dental Sleep Apnea Conference, Dr. Alison Mayers. But she tells the business report the industry in Barbados and the region is now better prepared to handle the demands of the sleep apnea condition.
There's definitely greater knowledge, so we have more players now, not just in Barbados, in the region, because remember this was a regional conference, so we have persons from Antigua, Trinidad, we've had St. Vincent. So as a region, we're trying to move forward, at least the dentists are, to make sure we're better prepared. But we do have other players that we need to get on board. We haven't had as much information from the insurance industry. We did invite them to come, but unfortunately that didn't happen. Ultimately, our patients have insurance, so therefore if that is something that we can make sure we understand, that's also to the benefit of our patients.
The dental official recognized the assistance from the Barbados Tourism Investment Incorporated. Co-chair and resource person Dr. Aditi Desai said plans are already in place for another meeting in a few months.
I'm happy with what we've achieved so far. We still have some work to do. We do need more persons to come and get trained, and we will be having another conference, a little bigger but slightly better, in January of next year. We haven't finalized those dates yet, but I'm very happy with what we've achieved in this last 6 to 7 months, and I'm hoping that we can continue to go from strength to strength.
You do recognize that was not Dr. Desai. Well, let's take a look now at how our stocks traded today.
In Jamaica, Trans-Jamaican Highway Limited with 3,242,341 units was the volume leader, followed by Wigton Wind Farm Limited ordinary shares and Sagicor Select Funds Limited Financial. In Trinidad and Tobago, Massey Holdings Limited was the volume leader with 12,935 shares changing hands for a value of Trinidad and Tobago $47,365.90, followed by National Enterprises Limited. And here in Barbados, there was no activity today in the regular market.
We're back with more sports now, as back also with Mark. Mark.
Indeed, I was telling you about basketball, and here it is. Harrison College are the Double Crown Schools champions, playing against Queen's College in both finals. College first won the Under-15 boys final and then returned to win the Under-17 final, both at the Willie Gym recently. CBC's Anmar Goodrich Boyce reports.
Tip-off time in the Under-15 showdown, and it's a battle of the colleges. Queens in blue out the blocks early. Kimani Maynard with an easy layup. QC were on the front foot and making this possession count. Christian Scott is a dangerous customer through the traffic. Euro step to the hole. That's brilliant. But 8C were playing it patiently and waited for the right moment to pounce. Jelani Marshall driving through the paint, but opts for the floater. That's good. Marshall ensured that QC did not establish a massive lead. Here he is, moving ahead and gets the shot to go. QC went on to take the first quarter 15-11, but not before this. Garnet Abu from beyond the arc, like candy folks, 3 big ones. The second and third quarters were where the game tilted in favor of the lads, and last from Crumpton Street. Manaya Haynes enters the fray, the corner 3, fantastic. 8C now were playing with a bit more purpose. Isaac Griffith with 2 of his 15. Griffith was definitely in the mood. Nifty skill and gets the shot to go. Well done. 8C continued to keep the pressure on. Pickpocket, and Haynes showed her ability. Driving to the bucket for the and one, and she proceeded to the free throw line. 8C led 42-31 at this stage. QC fought back into the game tremendously, led by Reese Cozier, who registered 24 points. Look at this, off the backboard and in. QC must be given credit. Cozier again, this is good, as the game was level at 47 and into overtime. The standard in OT went up a notch, and Maynard, who had 12 points, was stirring the pot from upstairs. Pandemonium, with QC leading by a point. 8C stole the show and the trophy when Griffith produced the shot of the game from upstairs. 8C are champions in the 54-52. Under 17 final now featuring the same schools. 8C looking to do the double. We're off to the perfect start. Kobe Haynes under the bucket, and it's in. QC with possession now. Zane Corbin driving, and look at this. Lovely. That's 2 of his game high 36. Corbin was the man in charge for QC. I'll stay silent for a bit and let the highlight do the talking. That's good. Jelani Marshall also returned for this final and was simply a class act. Nothing but net from the three-point line as 8C led the first 2 quarters 15-12 and 30-28. Quickly, let's skip ahead to the second half and the final quarter where the battle was intense. QC were leading, but Corbin meets a red light at this traffic junction, and Walton Yarbrough is away, and the layup is too easy. QC responded brilliantly. Damian Griffith to the paint, gets the shot to go. That's marvelous. Corbin was showing his worth big time as well. This is 3. But regardless of the end-to-end action, 8C managed to hold on to win 72-70 and be crowned double champions. Anmar Goodrich Boyce, CBC Sports.
Well, that's our time tonight. Thank you for spending it with us. I'm Pearson Bowen. For the crew, to all of you, good night. Have a wonderful weekend.